Let's make a new tiny knit. Today we will see what we can do with a little square piece and a couple of ears. Let's knit a bunny, a tiny little bunny. We will cast on 18 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. We begin with a knit row. Knit stitch, remember, you go in from the front, the yarn is in the back, grab the yarn, pull it through, so the whole row, knit. You can see here I'm using leftover yarn with 2.25 millimeter knitting needles. We don't really measure tiny knits. They can become larger or even smaller depending on the yarn and the needle size that you choose to use. The first row is all knit stitches. Now we turn. The second row is all purl stitches. Purl stitch is when you hold your working yarn in the front, you come from the back, grab the yarn, pull it backwards, jump off the stitch. That is your purl stitch. It's like the mirror of the knit stitch, the reverse side. Yarn is in the front, needle comes from the back and goes back. We turn and the third row is knit stitch. Always slip the first stitch. It's going to make a smooth edge, which will make sewing and finishing much easier. So you notice that when I turn and start the next row, I always slip the first stitch instead of knitting or purling. The last stitch I work in full. So now I turn. This is going to be purl row. I will first slip the first stitch and then purl to the end. Row 4. You're noticing that this is the stockinette stitch. Knit one side, purl one side and alternate knit and purl rows. In that way, you will have one side that's wavy like this and one side that's smooth and flat like this. Turn, next row 5, slip and knit to the end. Let's review. Knit stitch is when you have your yarn in the back of the work. You come from the front. If your stitch is coming to you like this, I like to say that the door is open. So I go through the middle, through the door. It's going to be like that if you're grabbing yarn over the top with your needle. If on a purl row you're grabbing your yarn with the needle under the yarn, your stitch will come to you this way. And that's okay. It's just that the door is not open, so you have to go from the front like this. When the door is open, you just go like this. Both ways are correct. Neither one is better or worse. Just make sure you pay attention so that your stitches do not end up twisted. That's all. Return. Next row 6 is purl row. Slip and purl. Remember, review purl stitch. The yarn is in the front. Knitting needle comes from the back through the door, grabs the yarn in the front and pulls to the back. Now we keep working row by row, alternating knit and purl rows. Okay, let's check how much more to knit. I want to be able to fold this diagonally into a triangle shape and to have these two edges line up. Here I see I still need to knit a little more in order to get them lined up. You see how this is shorter than the one below. So let's knit another set of rows, knit row and purl row. and then we're going to measure again. I wanted you to see this. We will count the rows if you want to use the same needle size I'm using. You will probably just need to follow the number of rows that I'm going to have. But if you are going to use thicker needles, thinner needles, you will want to know what we're aiming for this tiny knit figure today. And you want to look for that triangle being lined up when you fold it over. So now we finished these 2 rows. Let's take a look and see what's happening. Get nice and flat. Carefully, without stretching, fold here, line up the edge with the knitting needle, and unfurl. And they are lined up. We're ready to cast off. All right, remember the casting off, the knitted cast off? We have 1, 2, 1 leaps over 2. I have 2 again. Take the 1 and leap over. 2 again. Take the 1 and leap over. And we do this till the end of the row until we have finished casting off all 18 stitches. That's the last stitch. We do want to properly cast it off. Now, if you have done other tiny knits here on this channel, you know that I always say leave a long tail of yarn at the end of cast off for sewing. Pull it out, and we're ready to shape this into our tiny knit. Okay. So the first thing you're going to do is take the 2 corners here and fold it like this. You can use your knitting needle to secure it. And now you're going to get your sewing needle ready. We will thread the sewing needle. Now we are not going to start sewing in this corner, so we have to walk the yarn back to this point. I will show you now. Hold on 1 second. Four. Okay. So remember, we had 18 stitches. That means when we fold over, we have 9 and 9. We want to come to the middle, which is the 5th stitch. And there we want to sew 1 stitch. You can look here at this little chain of the cast off edge and count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Now, we don't want to have the seam outside. So we position the needle. We know where we will go. Now we turn things inside out. We pull it tight. And we use a whip stitch to sew this part. Now we turn it inside out, like so. We take a little bit of wool, and we put it inside, like this. Now you're going to take the needle and you're going to go around. I'll show you with my finger. You're going to go around like this. You want to make like a circle of a running stitch. This will tie the head into a little ball. So running stitch is really just up and down. And all the way around. And don't worry if you need to do it more than once. It's okay, it's easy to pull out because it's just a running stitch. And it can be hard at first to gauge where to go. So you're going to see the result very quickly after you pull the thread. So now you're going to hold and pull the thread. I think this is going to work. So good. Pull it tight. And do a couple of times through to secure it. Okay. So now we have this. We come to one side, it doesn't matter which one, and we pinch the corner like so. And we sew. We don't want to, on such a tiny knit, we don't need to do inside out. We can just do a running stitch in one direction and then running stitch in the opposite direction. And it will make a nice secure line. It's one of the front feet. Now we come to the second one. Pinch the corner like this. Same thing, you see. It will soon start to make sense, I promise. It does not look like the right thing just yet, but it will look correct very soon. It will start to resemble the shape we want. And then come back down to the center. Now we want some more wool. It's very tiny, so you may want to use a pencil. Push it into the front legs. Okay. Now we need to do the back legs. That we're going to do in a similar way, but we're going to make them longer. You know how bunnies will have longer legs in the back? So we're going to pinch these two corners like this. We'll start with this tail. You may want to do the back stitch here. It's a little longer seam so that you don't go back up and down. But if you'd rather do running stitch in two directions, you can. You can also do a whip stitch, especially if you're using nice yarn that blends in beautifully. Any sewing stitch will work. It's very forgiving on these tiny knits, and also easy because we're using one single color, so we don't have to worry about the sewing too much. And make sure that they're the same length, so I don't want to go too far. Okay, I'm at the end here. Okay, very good. Now I want to go up the other leg like this. And you see how slipping that stitch at the beginning of each row gave us these nice smooth edges for sewing and finishing, and we have even less to worry about when we're sewing the little seams for these tiny little creatures. You don't need to tie things off. You can put the yarn inside and it will felt into the wool stuffing. So now we need some wool for the other legs and the body. The pencil will be very helpful again for this tiny one. Do it on both sides. So now we have a couple things to accomplish. We want to close this, but we also, oh, I need more in this leg. This is not enough. They need to be the same size. Can't have different size legs. Okay, so we will want to fold this so that these legs are really longer than the front ones. So we have two things to accomplish. We want to close this opening, and then we want to sew the rear legs in place so that our bunny is sitting like this, and then we'll do the ears and the tail. So we need to thread the needle. Notice how leaving that long-tailed cast off is allowing us to have no worries about attaching sewing yarn and where to put the knot and how to tie it. All of that is avoided by leaving a long-tailed cast off. So here I didn't need to do too much because that will all be closed when I put the legs in and fold over for my bunny to sit like this. Then he'll get ears up here. So these tiny knits that we're doing are all beginner friendly for now. We will do some advanced ones in the future. But right now, it's a lot of fun to share these beginner projects. You can do more animal knits if you're interested in that work as a knitter. Make sure to put in the comments what you would like to knit. If you want to keep knitting tiny knits, what kind of animals you'd like to knit. And I will make sure that we have those projects coming down the line for you and others on our channel. But also, if you'd like to knit larger animals and toys and dolls, make sure to let me know in the comments. It is a lot of fun on this channel to create and prepare tutorials that you and your friends whom you're sharing the videos with and these creations with actually want to knit and make. That makes the whole process even more fun. Here's our little bunny ready to get its ears and the little tail. So I'm going to leave this here attached, and we're going to get the ears started. For the ears, we're going to cast on 6 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we will start knitting. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, purl row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, knit row number 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, knit row number 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and knit 2 together. 1, 2, 3, 4, turn, purl 2 together. 1, 2, 3, turn, knit 2 together. 1, 2, purl 2 together, 1, turn, knit 2 together, and tie off. Now we need to make one more just like this. Cast on 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Knit the first row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Turn, work the second row. It's gonna be purl, turn, and knit row number 3. Turn and purl row number 4. You can take a look here. Now we start those decreases. Knit 2 together, knit 1, 2, 3, 4, turn, purl 2 together, purl 1, 2, 3, turn, knit 2 together, 1, 2, turn, purl 2 together, purl 1, turn, knit 2 together, and tie off this last one. Okay, now let's see. These little ears are going to go right here. So you see how the knit side will be on the outside and the wavy purl side will be the inside of the ear. So we need our sewing needle. We want to go here at the bottom of the ear and take this tail and to come here to the head, to the back of the head. So here's the head, the back of the head, and we want to pinch the ear like this a little bit. You don't want it flat, you want it pinched a little bit, and then a few stitches to attach it to the head. And now you can go into the body, into the wool, to hide the tail in there. And with use and squishing, it will felt in place. Now we want ear number 2. We'll deal with this tail. We'll weave it in. Let's just attach the ears first. So we go to the bottom of the ear and take the yarn there, put it to the back of the head like so, and a few stitches to attach it to the head. can do the same thing and hide this inside the stuffing. Let it felt in there. Right, we got to deal with these. So we will follow the shape and the edge of the ear like this, one stitch at a time. And it gets inside the wool as well. And you can pull to make the ear shorter if you want, or not. That's up to you. Do this one. Same thing, follow the shape of the stitches from the edge. Just weave it in. And same thing, you're going to hide this inside the stuffing too. Right, only one thing is missing for our little bunny, and that is his little tail. It's going to go right here in the back. Okay, I'm still keeping this in case I need it. I'm very excited about this one. Okay, let's make the little tail. Take the edge of the yarn, put it in your palm of the hand like this. Go around your 2 fingers is going to be plenty. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. That might be too much. 14, 13, 12. Let's do 12. Okay, take this through the middle, right here, and then around from the other side of your hand, like this, and one more time. Wiggle your fingers, get it to the top, don't take it off just yet. Bring this tail from the other side, and let's tie a knot. 1 to connect, 2 to keep together, and 3 for good measure. Okay. Now we can wiggle our fingers all the way out. And we are going to get the tail trimmed. It's too big for the bunny right now, but after we attach it, we are going to make it smaller if we need to. So I'm going to thread both of these tails through my needle. I'm going to see where I want the tail to go. And I think I want it right there. Okay, so we're going to come from the bottom here. I'm going to hold this flat and I'm going to sew into it and down. Then back up into it and down on the other side. And this stitch and up into it and into the middle of the yarn. Now you know exactly how to do this, so when the tail falls off, if it's roughly handled, it might. You can just make another one for fun. Now we know we don't need this piece anymore. We can cut it off. And it's time to trim the tail. Do a little bit at a time, so you don't cut off too much. And of course, if you have one of those little woolly or even rabbit tail pieces, you can sew that on to your bunny. And this is our tiny knit all done. I hope you had fun. Let me know which colors you choose for your tiny bunny knits, what you're going to do with them, how many you will make, and what other tiny knit animals you'd like us to make. I look forward to reading your comments, and if you have questions, I love answering them. Have fun knitting!